Hey everybody, and welcome to the Rock and Roll Farming Podcast. And today I'm very happy to be heading over to Cambridgeshire to talk to farmer Ben Martin. Ben, how are you?
Morning, Will. Yeah, very good. Thank you. Sun shining, a little bit of rain. So yeah, good.
Yeah, we haven't had any rain here yet, which seems odd that you've had rain in Cambridgeshire, but we haven't had rain in Northeast Wales. It shows how the
Yeah.
climate's changing, doesn't it?
I think we need it a bit more. So it's yeah, very welcome.
Yeah. Well, just yeah, tell me a bit about Cambridgeshire and Suffolk and the east of England, especially for people who might not be from the UK who are listening to this. It's quite a unique part of Britain and a very important part in terms of food production, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, arable farming dominates. I'm just outside Cambridge on the Cambridge-Suffolk border, sort of between Newmarket and Cambridge. So predominantly combinable crops. Fairly sort of mixed land from blowing sand to real heavy clays. So wheat, barley, oats sort of dominate really. But in between all this is some prime veg land. So I'm only 5 to 10 miles off of the fens where the soil changes dramatically into sort of dark peats.
Mhm.
The land I'm directly sort of working on with my close friend Adam is a range of sort of heavy to light chalky loams, and yeah, produces good crops. Generally not reliant on irrigation. However, if you drive down the A14 past my door right now, sort of from Cambridge down to sort of Stowmarket way, you'll see lots of irrigators going right now.
Yeah. I was over that way about 4 or 5 weeks ago. I was recording, and if anyone is listening, by the way, I should mention the Goodyear Farm Ties podcast that I've been doing. There's 5 or 6 of them, and they're great. Where I've been going around the country to winter farming families. If anyone wants to listen to those, just you can find them wherever you get podcasts. But I went over to talk to a family over there near Stowmarket, and it was dry. It seemed dry. There's tractors, there's clouds of dust going. It was yeah, it was wild. But I'm always struck when I'm over in the east of England just how many huge tractors and big fields, and it's kind of quite striking from, especially when you come from where I come from.
Yeah, I, I guess I'm just used to them.
Mm.
If I go in a field now that's less than 10 hectares, it feels like a small field. But that's not to say, I think the smallest, I said it the other day, I was in this tiny little field with 1.8 hectares, I think it was. And my first reaction was, why is this not in bloody countryside stewardship? And the second was, is this the smallest one we farm? And it was. But I wouldn't say the landscape has changed much in my sort of 20, 25 years of farming. I certainly haven't seen hedges pulled out and ditches filled in and like all this sort of stuff that you hear people throw around.
Mm.
I can hand on heart honestly say I've seen more hedges planted in my farming career than I've seen taken out, which is
Hmm.
great. But the east of England is productive in arable farming for a reason, and it suits the big fields. And and yeah, but there's some nice little farms. There's some rolling hills in Suffolk, and there's one spot in particular south of Bury St Edmunds. You're in the Glen Valley, and it's beautiful. There's several farms along there with beef cattle and sheep, and you overlook that, and you could be anywhere in the
Yeah,
UK, Will, to be honest. So
yeah.
yeah.
No, so, where are you from in the east? You're from Suffolk, right?
Yeah, so born Bury St Edmunds, Suffolk through and through. Yeah. I've lived in various sort of small rural villages, sort of between Sudbury and Bury St Edmunds. Um, Worked all over the place, to be honest. But yeah, Suffolk's home, and even though I now reside just across the border, I'm still very much, Suffolk in my heart. So
Yeah. And family as well. That long history there.
yeah. Yeah, so all centered really around the Sudbury, sort of the south of Bury St Edmunds region. Um, Grandfather and dad both worked on the land for several local farmers. Mum's side, a bit more diverse. My granddad was in the Navy. He fought in World War II. Come out of that, and then run several pubs. But quite an entrepreneur by all accounts. I think that certainly rubbed off on my mum and certainly did with me. I think that entrepreneurial sort of spirit has come from that side of the family. So yeah, not a nice little mix. I've now got family scattered sort of all round, Will, to be honest. But yeah, close family, sisters, brothers, etc., all Suffolk based.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned your dad and granddad working on farms. So you were, as a child, you grew up on
Mm.
farms, around tractors and machinery and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, we had the best childhood, really. We could have imagined. We were well, we were in the same tied house with Dad's job for 20 years, which was on a farm. There was animals there. We were so lucky to have more or less a free rein in the fields behind the house. Um, and then, dad every year would bring, I don't know where he got them from, but he'd bring a few orphan lambs home. So we'd rear them. We didn't realize it at the time they were for the freezer, but we worked it out when we got a bit older.
Yeah.
We had goats, chickens, yeah, all sorts really. So yeah, brilliant upbringing, really.
Yeah. So do you think that I don't know, was the seed planted then for you getting into farming? Do you think, or did you want to sort of get away for a bit, or?
No, I think it was. Some of my earliest memories was, mum taking us out to where dad was working, seeing the combines. Yeah, granddad was a sprayer man. Well, for the last bit of his career that I remember anyway. So yeah, and then I think it was year 10 at school, work experience, when you have your 2 weeks. And I don't really remember even considering anything else apart from trying to get on a farm. And I remember it was quite a big thing. You had to sort of arrange that interview and
Yeah.
and, and go and see if the local farmer would have you. I remember um, mum and dad never pushed us like a certain way. It was always sort of whatever we wanted to do, they were sort of well behind us. And I remember I cycled up there and had a chat with the local farmer, and that just, that was it from then, really. Did several sort of summers with those guys during school holidays. Um, so yeah, that's where it all started, really.
Yeah, it's fun. I did very similar. Yeah, went to a local farm, just literally a few miles up the road, and did my sort of 2 weeks experience there. And I sometimes think, God, you could have gone anywhere, and that's where you went. But I think it
Yeah,
was, as you say, I don't think it even entered my mind that I'd do anything else. It was just kind of, I didn't
no,
feel pushed or anything. It was just, I know, I didn't even think about it. It wasn't, I don't know, it
no.
wasn't an option, I guess, in my mind. I just,
The
yeah.
I don't know about you, but at school, it wasn't really a career route that was, farming, rural pursuit. It just never was spoken about. And I think, if anything, that probably pushed me more into it because I was very a rebel type mindset, I guess. And it was very much like if someone I remember they when I went to agricultural college after A levels and what have you, and I remember saying to someone at a careers thing in A levels, this I don't want to go to university. I'm going to go to ag college. They just were having none of it. And I sort of thought you should be supporting here. You know, if someone's interested in this, and
Yeah.
I don't think that's come from a bad place. I think it's just a lack of education on their
Mm.
behalf and the opportunities that are available, really. So, um, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure it's that much different now, really, but anyway.
no.
So so you went to ag college, and then was always your sort of plan to get into farm management, or were you not kind of thinking that far ahead at that time?
Not really thinking that far ahead, to be honest. I come out of college really ready to start earning money. Couple of my good friends and like my best mate now, John, they sort of went straight into it was farm care or co-op at the time, their sort of
Yeah.
graduate trainee schemes. But I wasn't quite ready to settle on one thing. So I'd sort of made a bit of a decision. The next 2 or 3 years was going to be spent sort of working on different farms, seasonal work, traveling around the UK. Um, went to deepest, darkest mid Wales, done a couple of lambing stints,
Did you?
which was brilliant, absolutely superb. Yeah, so it yeah, I think my twenties, I'd really just made my mind up. I wasn't going to jump into a career in my twenties. It was about gaining experience, having fun, and not worrying too much.
Yeah, okay. That's yeah, yeah, it's that seems like a pretty good perspective because sometimes we all do, I don't know, you can you can convince yourself sometimes. I sort of try to tell my children this. There's a lot of pressure on young people now, isn't there, to sort of have a plan, have 10 years and know where you want to be. And I'm not sure it's always healthy. You can put a bit too much pressure on yourself, I think.
Well, I look at it from almost the complete other end of the spectrum, and I don't try and tell 20-year-olds what to do, but if they're asking for a bit of advice, or I'll say something along the lines of your 20s is for exploring, in my opinion.
Mm.
It doesn't really matter how badly you mess up business wise, career, you've got so much time to recover from it in your 20s. And I know that from having my little farm and the bloody great overdraft I was left with, and fully recovered from that now. So I think it's an opportunity to just have a go at whatever you want to do, whether it is traveling, trying different things, or starting a business or whatever. You can recover from it in your 20s.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. You met your wife in Young Farmers Clubs, like me. I met
Mm,
my wife in Young
mm.
Farmers as well. How did that happen?
It's yeah, so I wasn't in a great place socially after college. I think 18 months to 2 years, I'd really missed the regular Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, Monday nights, all this stuff. And
Yeah.
um, so looked up the local young farmers, went a few times, and then whatever it was, didn't go for a few months. And then I threw myself straight back into it. And it was a Bury St Edmunds Young Farmers, big club, sort of 20, 25, 30 members, really active. Um, and it was just coming into the summer season, if I remember rightly. So the club was getting ready for the rally and different things, and just went 2 or 3 times, threw myself into it, and yeah, Emma, my wife, I just remember her being she was just throwing herself into everything and having fun, smiling, laughing, and I was like, I need to get to know her a bit more, really.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it was great, and we we had a year where, well, 2 or 3 of our best friends now are married from young farmers, so sort of 3 or 4 of us that are um, yeah, that what do you call we graduated from that year, shall we say, with a life partner. So yeah.
It is amazing
Um,
how many marriages come from young farmers, isn't it? It's quite a unique thing. It'd be quite hard to explain, I think, to people who are not aware of it. Just, I mean, My
Yeah.
wife and I talk about it sometimes. We could probably name 20 to 30 couples who've got
Mm,
married from
mm.
young farmers. It's
Yeah.
wild, isn't it?
I think that for us it was obviously shared interests. So although it was horses for him at the time, which wasn't my interest at all, um, but you know the country thing, she knew, he understood the hours I was doing at
Yeah.
work. You know, Emma was showing horses at the time, so I understood the getting up in the middle of the morning to drive to county shows, this sort of stuff. So um, I think from the outside, people have quite odd perceptions of young farmers
Mm.
groups and clubs, but I just think on the whole they're marvelous. They're such good forces for good, really, with the charity work we did and everything like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so tell me about New Zealand. You've gone through your
Mm.
20s, doing lots of different things, and then you decided to go to New Zealand for a bit.
Yeah. So it was never massively intentional, but my 30th year turned out to be a real like life-defining one, really. It started. I took my motorcycle test not long after my 30th, which was something like my dad had grown up with bikes. We'd always had motorbikes as kids, and that was sort of like a natural thing, which was great. Later that year, went and did my first Welsh 2 day enduro, which for anyone who rides enduro and off-road bike events, it's like the pinnacle of like UK racing. So that was great. And then I think it was just after harvest, me and my wife were in Cambridge and we wandered into Trail Finders, which is a travel agent for like traveling, bespoke sort of traveling holidays. And we just got talking to someone about New Zealand in there, and they must have been a pretty good salesperson because we come out of there all sorted. And yeah, so we flew into Christchurch, and we basically had 5 weeks of freedom. Had a first night in a hotel, and then we picked up the camper van the next morning, and we were off. We went south of Christchurch for a couple of days. Banks Peninsula, is it? Akaroa. And then we went and saw an old college friend after that, and who'd gone to New Zealand and stayed out there, and she married a Kiwi guy, and they gave us this incredible like road trip sort of itinerary for the South Island, away from the crowds, and so yeah, we cruised around, did a massive loop of the South Island for 4 or 5 weeks. No rush to be anywhere, no real money concerns. Um, Took a lot of it in, so many different experiences. I called in every farm shop that I saw, buying lamb, buying beef, buying pies. Um, and yeah, just incredible. Have you been there, Will?
I have, yeah. Well, my
Yeah.
wife, while you were talking then, I was remembering my wife and I did similar things, similar times period,
Mm,
and we went around and yeah, we went to a few farms and yeah, in fact, in fact, I think it was 2006 when we went there and we were seriously considering moving there, but
yeah.
we didn't in the end. But yeah, it was pretty life changing for us.
I think if we'd have got a one-way ticket, it might have been different.
Mm,
My wife was working full time at that time, and her employer was very kind and let us take all that time off. But I wasn't. I was self-employed. But anyway, you know that's what happens. But come back from that, just thinking it was like a reset that I didn't realize I needed.
mm,
And come back thinking, well, soon be into my 30s now, and as much fun as my 20s was having, my tenancy on the farm and other little businesses, I just wasn't making enough money to to live how we wanted to, really.
hmm
So yeah, come back from New Zealand with a mindset of right, what do we need to do here to give, me and my wife have been together for 4 or 5 years at that point. We're pretty settled. She'll remind me that she wasn't engaged at this point. That's coming. Um, and I was quite envious, Will, of two or three of my really good friends who were very settled farm managers at that point.
Yeah.
Um, I knew I had the education that they did. I knew that I'd got a lot of practical experience, running my own business, this sort of stuff, and it just seemed like a natural thing to go and give farm management a good crack, really.
So how did you go about it? Did you look for roles? Did you find a job that people were advertising for, or how did
Yeah,
it happen?
well, it's it's quite a small world, isn't it? And especially in farm
Really
management
is.
and arable farms, really small world. So the first interview I went for was not far down the road actually, and I didn't get the job, but a good friend of mine, Tom, he did, and we ended up being quite good friends. That farm still, it's just down the road now. Um, but I was introduced to Velcourt by a mutual friend when I had a chat with one of the directors, and there was a assistant farm manager role coming up locally. So he arranged for me to go and meet the farm manager. When I saw him, had a really good drive around the farm. Really liked what I saw. Lots of people working there, lots of machinery, big farm, lots going on. So he offered me the assistant farm manager job, and and sort of went went head first into it. Well, really, I thought this is great, love it. It's fast paced, really learning a huge amount around good people. Um, but naturally, like what happens in these sort of big, farm management companies, people are always moving about.
Yep.
So after 12, well, it wasn't even 12 months, the farm manager relocated to a new farm in Scotland. And um, well, basically, I got promoted to farm manager. I really wasn't sure whether I was ready for it. But in life, if these things get presented to you, generally you've just got to grab them. So that's what happened, and stayed on that farm with Velcourt for the next 7 or 8 years, and I just tried to be the biggest sponge I could, really, and just absorb as much info, knowledge, and learnings as possible. It was very structured, which is great, and that's why that type of company is so successful. It's almost like it's not a blueprint. That's not fair because each farm is very individual, but you've got so much support,
Mm.
so much other farm managers to tap into. You can guarantee, problem that I might have experienced for the first time, someone else would have dealt with it. Um, and I had a farms director, Doug Ingalls, who was just incredible with me, and he had a real knack of developing younger farm managers.
Okay.
And well, I don't chat to Doug nowhere near as much as I'd like to, but I still go to him for bits of advice every now and then. He was my farm's director, but more of a mentor, really,
Yeah.
looking back.
Okay.
He would and I think this is quite good for young farm managers, whoever it is. He let us have a free rein to a degree where we wouldn't trip ourselves up
Mm.
and really make big errors. So yeah, that was my 30s really.
Yeah, I suppose uh, that and being in that structure and having those people around you gave you stability as well.
100%. Yeah. I mean, the first couple of years was very fast paced, very, learning on my feet.
Yeah.
But once you got into it, the years were quite similar, to be
Mm.
honest. You knew when you was going to start planting potatoes or when you wanted to. You knew you'd start irrigating around this sort of date. You knew the winter barley would be ready around about now. And it, dare I say it, the job become easier. But but the headaches didn't. And it was always and I put most of the pressure on myself really, that to sort of grow, to push, to get more out of fields, to get more out of crops, to get more out of people, and um, and I mean that ultimately was the down. Well, not, it was my own personal like downfall where I suffered from burnout really,
Mm,
and the build up of constantly putting myself under this pressure. And I think farming overall is not that great at shouting about these mega yields that people are getting, the mega I don't know, conception rates in pigs, and not
yeah.
because they're not that frequent, but there tends to be the ones you only hear about.
Mm,
And if the farm I was on was not a particular, it's a quite a light land farm, so it wasn't a particularly high yielding farm. So 8 ton of wheat was a good result for me. But all you'd hear in the press is 11, 12, 13 ton. And you think, give me a break here. Come on.
yeah.
So little things like that will really. But overall, look, it's my 30s, what I experienced, good and bad, has set me up for life now, really.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I think you can put too much pressure on yourself in farming, can't you? And I think it's quite hard these days as well. My wife and I talk about this a lot, and I think it is being talked about generally more now. Social media, which we kind of all just kind of, it's just ubiquitous. It's just there, isn't it? You try to, as much as you try to avoid it, you can't really. And it doesn't help, does it? And you have to find what works for you in that regard, don't you? Whether that's just not listening to the news or getting off social media for a bit or having a break from it or whatever. But I think sometimes you have to just realize that it's okay to be doing as best you can. I think it is quite an important realization. Sounds silly. It sounds obvious maybe, but it isn't always.
no, I think that the industry has got so many stakeholders.
Mm.
There's so many people that want a bit of a bit of profit, I guess.
Hmm.
And there's so much pressure to be trying new technology, new products, new systems. And I am all for that. I'm totally open-minded about trying all these new things, but they have to be the right thing at the right
Yeah.
time. Because I spent probably the best part of 12 months trying lots of different like soil scanning systems, soil sampling, and they'd all come back to you with these fancy maps, these great apps. But I'd say to every one of them, how is this making me more money?
Yeah.
Where's the value? And I didn't get a huge amount of really good responses. And I did a reset, got rid of it all, and sort of through the network of farm managers and advisors that I had, implemented the bits that really worked, and just forgot about what didn't, because it just takes so much energy, Will, trying to make
Mm.
things work. People selling or trying to sell you things. And I know they're not bad people. They're just doing their jobs a lot of the
Yeah. Yeah.
time. But you have to, these 10 quid a hectare, 20 quid a hectare, 30 quid a hectare, if you're farming 1,000 hectares, that adds up quickly. And, you pay 30 grand a year on this service that's not giving you much back. You might as well go and employ someone else for
Yeah.
30 grand and make your life easier,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know? Uh, so yeah.
I guess that comes with experience and perspective as you get older and you learn these
Mm,
things. That is part of the journey, isn't it? Without getting too
yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
philosophical, it's kind of you get better at these things, don't you? I think.
Yeah. 100%. You don't tend to get burnt more than once, do you?
No.
With some of these things. And Yeah, and that's life. You learn, generally we learn from our mistakes, and if we don't make them, then well, if someone claims they're not making them, it's bullshit, really. Um, and the best thing you can do is take these mistakes, whatever negative experiences, and flip them on the head and go, well, what did I get out of that? And move forward. So, um, but I mean, that's why I mean we've said before about surrounding yourself with the right people.
Mm.
And I can't emphasize enough how important that is. And I think with the social media thing as well, you can almost, I think for young people, that it is their go-to now.
Yeah,
Me and you would have gone to the pub on a Friday night. We would have done these different things, and that sort of replaced it. But I don't want people to make the mistake of just because they're on a screen, they're on your phone, but you're following these, you are surrounding yourself with these people. So
yep.
who you follow is your tribe really,
Mm.
and you you need to. I certainly I follow people that bring me value. It's quite simple, really.
Yeah,
And there's some funny stuff. I feel us mates share a few funny crash videos or whatever. Motorbikes crashing into lakes, whatever. But on a whole, if you're going to be on social media a lot, just just try and find the value,
yeah,
really.
yeah. I couldn't agree more. I'm very deliberate with these things now. I'm much more deliberate with. Oh, maybe people who know me wouldn't agree, but because cause I can be quite chaotic, but I think I've got to a point now where I'm much more deliberate with people I follow on social media, people I spend time with. I've got much better at saying no to things, so I'm not overloading myself. And you mentioning that the people that you follow on social media, I really enjoy following you because you post some really. I mean, I don't do a lot of social media anymore, but there are some Instagram accounts that I like following, and you are very positive. You talk about those kind of things, and I mean, I message you just as a. We can get into this, but sort of mental health. One of the strategies is that I've employed over the last few years is I try to eat better. So I try to look after myself better. I'd gone through a long stage where I wasn't looking after myself very well, I don't think. And now I do. And it's like, I messaged you not long ago because you have these sort of hot lunches on the tractor, so I wanted some hot lunchbox advice. And I think little things like that are quite important, aren't they? I think.
100%. My but the people I follow on Instagram probably quite a wide range, but they're generally fitness people,
Yeah,
food.
yeah,
There's no end of accounts that are, and these guys and girls are incredible. Will most of like early 20s, they're building businesses off the back of meal prepping on
yeah.
Instagram. But it they a lot of them strip it all down. It's so easy
Mm.
to follow, and I I might be wrong in this, but the people I follow, I don't think are like the typical people that typical farmers would follow.
Hmm.
So I'm almost trying to act as like a conduit between the two, and the um, there's a guy called Sean Casey. I don't know if you've come across
I
him
follow Sean
before.
from Northern
Yeah,
Ireland. Yeah, yeah.
Sean's
I follow Sean.
incredible.
Yeah,
I love him. He's funny,
yeah,
but at the core of what he does is very simple
yeah.
food prep, and that doesn't have to be consumed at home. It can be consumed anywhere. So,
Mm.
I enjoy doing the food prep in the evenings and then cooking it at lunch, cook it yeah, in the tractor or wherever I am, or getting the camping stove out. And if a few people watch it and go, Christ, I hadn't even thought about that before. I'm going to stop buying all this shit from the garage on the way to work, and
Yeah,
then great. That's
yeah.
someone once said to me, Ben, you'll never buy a healthy meal from a garage, and I don't think he was wrong.
Mm,
And but it's convenience again, isn't it?
mm.
Um, especially with M&S Wellbeing cafes, because they are quite good, aren't they now? Um, but yeah, well, I mean, it's an interesting world because I don't get a huge amount of feedback. You know, if I post a video of like a really nice lunch I've just cooked up, I don't get a huge amount of feedback. So I don't really know if people are, enjoying it or not, the content or not. But it's nice when I do hear the odd person and you coming back saying, "Great idea. Where can I get one of those from?"
Mm.
Or can you send me the recipe? And I think with social media, if you are looking to share ideas, share value, which is what I'm doing, you've got to understand that if you get, I don't know, 500 views, 1,000 views, there's a chance, even if you get one, if you're influencing 1% of that, that's still a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
you won't get that 1% messaging you or thanking you for sharing something that's just improved their diet. But you just got to keep doing it. You just got to keep
Yeah,
spreading these sort of good vibes. And you know what it's like. You get to 40 or whatever, and you just go, I don't really care what people, the naysayers might think, because I'm not looking to work with people like
yeah,
that. I'm not looking to socialize with people like that. So
yeah,
they're not going to get any of my energy.
yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. And you, you obviously enjoy that kind of positive engagement because you sometimes put out a question where you'll ask people what's the highlight of your week, and then so you like that sort of positive, encouraging engagement, don't you? And I guess
Yeah.
you get something out of it as well as the people engaging.
Yeah. It's so important that we reflect. So basically, it's an exercise in reflection. That's
Yeah,
why I do it. It encourages people to stop for 5 or 10 minutes and go, actually, I thought I'd had a really poor week. I thought I'd been down all week, but I I don't know. I had a really nice coffee in my favorite cafe. I run a 5K twice that week. I got on my spring barley drilled. And when you say it out loud, and especially to someone else, it hits home.
mm,
Um, and it's something I have like a business coach and part of like a business group, and we do that every week, and we celebrate everyone's wins. Some of them can be huge,
yeah,
but then the next person will say, "Oh, I haven't really got anything to celebrate this week," and then we'll dig into it a little bit and actually go, "Well, no, 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 you've
yeah.
I don't know, you've hit your steps, or you've got your children to their clubs every day on time, whatever it might be." It's important, well, to talk about that.
Yeah, I think small victories can be just as important as big ones, can't we? Because especially at this point in life when, you know, you've got you tend to be quite whatever you do in your job, you tend to be quite senior. You've got a lot of pressures, a lot of responsibilities. A lot of us have got young children, families, running them around. Sometimes elderly parents. There's a lot going on, isn't there? And I think sometimes it's okay just to say, yeah, that those small victories are really, really important, and to acknowledge that I think is a big deal.
It compounds.
Yeah,
You get used to that feeling. You
yeah,
get used to talking to people about, the good things that have happened. And yeah, it's just a good thing to do.
mm,
I'm not really, I've tried it, like a journaling type person. And that's not to say I won't go back to it. I think I just need to find the right, journal for me. But some people absolutely swear by,
mm.
getting in of the day, writing down a couple of wins and maybe what didn't go quite so well, what tomorrow's going to bring. But by putting that sort of question on Instagram, I feel that's like part of that journaling process almost.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. It can be a really useful tool in that regard, can't it?
hmm.
You also post a lot about your daily dog walks, the environment and being outside. Obviously important to you in terms of like we're both working farming, so that seems maybe quite obvious. But I guess actually being outside, going for those walks, being present, using your senses, that's a big deal in your life as well.
Mm, massive. Um, you know, I'm so grateful for being able to work outside, to drive these wonderful machines in beautiful locations. But generally, you are working when
Mm.
you're in these machines. And if I see a fox or I see an owl, I'll stop quickly and take some photos or whatever. But it's not like walking through these
No.
environments. And you you know you you're right with the senses. You smell, you can touch,
Yeah.
you hear it. When it all right, look, I've got four spaniels, so quite often they're not the most relaxing of walks. Um,
No.
um, uh, but they they have a knack of is it keeping you grounded? Is that the right word? They don't give a shit about what's going on in the world. They're just they're happy if they see a rabbit they
Yeah.
can chase for a bit or whatever. And you you just get a sense of well, I do anyway, of just connecting with your surroundings. Right, so I'm going to say something. It's going to be it might sound a bit odd now, but I've been thinking about this for quite a while. So when I was at college, we had like the farming like groups, like the farming students. Then we had the countryside
Mm.
sort of students, and we always used to sort of, there were. We always used to sort of look at the countryside students thinking, oh, it's a bit sort of, I don't know, I'm not really directly taking a mick or anything, but I just couldn't quite understand how they connected,
I know what you mean.
and I certainly do now.
Yeah.
And I wish um, well, I did take a few countryside modules, but I think in my soul, I
Mm.
should have focused more on that during my education, because I feel like I'm on the back foot now, Will. I like if I see a footprint, I want to know what it is, and
Yeah.
I've got to come back and get a book to see. If I hear a bird, I've got to get that bloody app up, and I don't want to do that. I want to be able to know straight away what it is.
Yeah. I know what you
So
mean.
that. So that's the nature thing's so important to me. I'll quite often take my rucksack with my little stove in there, and I'll sit somewhere quiet, make a cup of tea. And I so sometimes I'm not going out for a massive long walk, but it's stopping, isn't it? And just
Yeah.
looking around and listening. Um, I do listen to podcasts while I'm walking around. Because I find that they go in well when I'm
Hmm.
walking. I can listen really well.
Hmm.
Um, but like this morning's dog walk, I didn't listen to anything, left my earpods at home. And what don't no, you shouldn't underestimate like the physical benefits of walking as
Yeah.
well. And it's completely different to oh, I'm really busy at work. I walk around the farm, I do this, and that's great, but are you going out for a 10, 15, 20K walk once or twice a week? Because that is different,
Yeah.
and it gets your heart rate up, get up some hills. I walked up to the Devil's Dyke is quite a popular landmark feature around Newmarket, and it's got some really sharp steps, inclines. I was just walking up them and I looked at my watch. I was like, Jesus Christ, my heart rate is like, it's gone right up. And you don't get them bursts of,
Yeah.
well, you might do if you're chasing a bullock around the yard or something. Don't get me wrong, but I certainly don't at work. So, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. Um, Talk to me about recruitment. How did you get into that, to start with?
So I think like people has always been my real big interest when I was employed. The real different personalities, the characters, treating everyone very equal, but being personable with everyone. And I had to recruit, when I was employed, and I enjoyed that side of it. But I never really had the time to give it exactly what it needed. And when I decided to sort of start my own path again, about 6 months into that, a local farmer um, said, "Can you come see me for half a day? I'd like, we need to recruit, and we'd value your experience in that area." I thought, "Oh, great, okay, go and have a chat." And it was off the back of that. I really enjoyed talking to James and his brother and giving them some ideas, some techniques, and things I hadn't really thought about. And I come away thinking, I could, I think there's something here that I could help other farmers with. I've got the first-hand experience of being on farm, having to recruit tractor drivers, assistant farm managers myself. Um, but now I've got the time to do it properly. And um, yeah, I really enjoy it. There's something very, very fulfilling about finding a good person for a business that you know is going to help that farmer and drive that business forward as well. So it's mainly focused. It's just natural that most of my clients so far have been arable farms that have been tractor driver roles, lead operator, foreman type roles, and yeah, I just really really enjoy it. Will I think I've got um, quite a good sense of where to place these jobs when I'm trying to get these jobs seen by as many people as possible. And that's not an overnight thing. My oh, whether it's good or bad, I'm still on Twitter. I've got several thousand followers on there. Yeah, that's took quite a few years to build that up. So same sort of thing with Facebook. Um, and I'm getting some really good results. So I know it's working. People coming back to me, and it and it's a job that I can do remotely. Will I haven't got to be anywhere at a given time, which I really value now. If I want to do some of this work after I put my little girl to bed, then I can do.
Hmm.
And if I want to do some at the weekend, I just open a laptop. I was arranging interviews yesterday afternoon for a client. But it's my business now. I
Yeah,
can sort of do that as and when I want to.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, but I think we've touched on it in previous conversations. I do think the industry is quite slow in the recruitment area, if that's the
yeah,
right term.
yeah,
Um, it's very traditional. And what worked 20 years ago certainly doesn't work now.
yeah.
And that's where, I'm finding quite a lot of my success, which is great for me. But I see the odd advert in the Farmers Weekly or on a farm's own Facebook page, and I just think no one's going to apply for that job.
No,
You know,
I see them all the time at the moment because obviously, it's well publicized that well, not just farming, there's a recruitment problem seemingly in every industry at the moment. But so you see a lot of adverts, and I mean, some of them are really passive aggressive. They're
yeah,
just like, you just wouldn't
yeah,
dream of applying. You want to say to them,
no,
God, just show that to somebody before you post it because it's kind of
yeah,
you will need to be here at this time and you're like,
yeah,
Christ, it's
yeah.
like something from the 1950s, you know?
We've got it. I say we because I feel like, we as an industry, we've got it
Yeah,
so wrong how we
yeah,
are approaching this a lot of the time. And you are right. It's the adverts that say you will be good at this, you will need to
yeah.
do that, you will have to be available at any time of
Mm,
the day. No. A young person's not even going to read
no.
that after the first. So, I like to focus on what the business offers, what that candidate can expect,
Mm,
how what's the culture like, what are the benefits, because that's really what people want to know about straight
mm,
away. So, and it needs to be as frictionless as possible, Will. So don't make it like you could put So like that advert you just described, you must do this, you must do that. That job could come with the best tied house in the country. It could come with a huge salary. It could come with loads of other perks. But no one's going to get that far
No.
because you've already turned them off on that initial bit. So I'm again more positive about it, and I think it really, really winds me up when I hear people say, there's not the people about now. Well, there is. We've got a growing population. There's more people here now than ever. I looked up some stats over the weekend. Young farmers clubs have got the highest amount of members for in the I think since 2019. It dropped
Hmm.
a little bit in COVID and then it exploded again. So there is young people in these young farmer clubs, and there's a hell of a lot of work to do to sort of marry these good jobs up with these good people, and
Yeah.
that's what I think we
Yeah.
need to do better at.
I think you're right. It is selling those sort of unique benefits as well, isn't it? Because every farm's different, and many of us farm in stunningly beautiful places. I guess, we're all not just in farming, but wider society. We're all talking more about sort of mental health and well-being, and that was really highlighted during COVID. That lack of access to green spaces. A lot of people are thinking about that kind of stuff, aren't they? And
Mm.
I mean, I've seen some of the videos that you've posted for recruitment, and they just look great. It really makes you sit up and take notice. The kind of drone footage, and it just looks really exciting.
Mm.
And I think there are a lot of people who that appeals to.
Yeah, and I think we lose sight as farmers, landowners, of how unique a position we're in to be able
Yeah,
to offer people jobs that are um, they're great jobs, but these little incentives. So, I'm talking of past experience where I've worked for farmers that have allowed me to have a few of my own pigs in one of his woodlands. You go and work for blooming Waitrose, the store manager's not going to offer you that opportunity. Um, and I've another farmer, he knew I was into my motorbikes, racing bikes, so he got me a 20-foot storage container that I had on his farm where I stored all my kit.
hmm
Didn't charge me anything for it.
yeah,
Majority of farms have got space, haven't
yeah, yeah,
they? And whether that's saying to someone's partner, I'd always encourage someone who's applying for jobs, if you've got an interview, take your partner with you. And even if they just sit in the car, it's important that they get a bit of a look around the farm as well. And I always took my partner to any job interview I went to, my now wife. And more often than not, it come up into your conversation. Oh yeah, my wife's in the car. They're like, I'll bring her in. We want to show her this. We want to
mm,
show her that. And I think it's them type of people. If they've got the energy to want to welcome your partner onto the farm, that's a really good sign.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, but we so every farm. So what I do, Will, every client that comes to me about recruit, I go and see them first. I get on their farm because they're all unique, and I highlight a few things to them that I think we need to mention in the advert. We need to mention online, and one young farmer that I went and helped, he's a fledgling sort of contracting business, so he couldn't offer mega money, but we focused on. He had a couple of stables that weren't doing nothing and a paddock. I said, look, if you get someone who applies who's into horses, the kid's got a horse. Oh my God, that's incredible. That's a huge bonus. He'd got space for if someone wanted to store a caravan. I think you've just got to be aware of the unique opportunities that we do have. We might not be able to pay these mega salaries, but there's so much more we can offer. Um,
yeah.
mm,
And there are the arable sector at the moment is probably the prices aren't so good, certainly compared to the kind of livestock sector where it kind of at the moment in the UK, beef and lamb is absolutely flying. Dairy's kind of on the up again. And arable could be seen as the one that's, if you look at it in purely black and white financial terms, could be seen as the one that's struggling at the moment, although these things always go in cycles. But there are a lot of really inspiring arable businesses out there and people who are doing really awesome things, looking for the opportunities, being flexible, rolling with the punches, all the cliches. And those, I don't know, I'm really inspired by those people, and they're really kind of showing that what you can do in that sector, I think.
Mm, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I see a lot of these businesses, and that they are doing great things. And that they're generally the ones that aren't sat around moaning about it all,
Hmm.
Will. They're rolling with the punches. They've got strategies, they've got contingency plans. And yeah, there's some incredibly inspiring farmers out there. And again, I guess this is about surrounding yourself with
Mm.
people you either want to be like, or people that just lift you up. And you can do that on social media. Just get rid of all the block them. Put the blocked words in Twitter. I've got a massive list in Twitter.
I bet you have.
Um, and follow the people that, I think what James Peck is doing with his social media sort of presence, he's great. He's documenting the good stuff and the bad, but overall, he's a progressive business. And I think that's, on a personal front, that's why I enjoy the farm work I'm doing so much right now. I'm enjoying farming more than I ever have right now, and that's probably down to the people that I'm working with
Mm.
most days. Adam and Ed, CD Farming are young guys. They actually put in their job advert for seasonal staff the other day that the average age of the workforce is 32, and I'm afraid I probably have risen that up a little bit. But it it's so when you go to work um, on the farm, you know, Adam doesn't moan about anything really, and if he does have a quick moan about something, it's Ben, what can I do about this?
Yeah,
It's not, oh, the government this. It's all right. We might touch on it, but
yeah.
then it's like, right, well, how do we counter it? And it's great. I get to drive some incredible big modern machinery. I'm around young guys that are, one guy in particular who's just sort of starting out in his career, really energetic, fun to be around. A couple other guys who are like the foreman who Adam promoted and has given more responsibility. And yeah, I keep coming back to that like thrive type word, but I don't think anything else really sums it up.
Yeah.
Um, and that business is very much thriving and not just looking to survive. Um, but yeah, no, look, they're everywhere. I think if someone's listening to this going, well, I don't know where these bloody inspiring farmers are. I don't see or hear about them. Try and have a little look at like the groups. So like Base UK is a really interesting, like positive group of farmers.
Mhm.
Um, they do some fantastic work. The research they're doing, um, very progressive characteristics of most of those sort of farmers that are involved with that movement. Wild Farmed is another one. If you get an opportunity to go on a wild farmed farm walk anywhere, just do it. Just clear your diary and go and see what it's all about because what them guys are doing is incredible. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and um, just find these people. Just do what you have to do to find these inspiring people, and I can guarantee they'll make your life better in even the tiniest fraction.
Yeah. Yeah, no, awesome too. And yeah, Adam Driver, former rock and roll farming guest, of
Yeah,
course. So anyone who wants to
yeah.
go back and listen to that, they can. But
Mm.
yeah, okay. So um, where do you want to be in the future, Ben? I mean, I guess it's build that kind of thriving farming brand. Um, you sound as if, and it's great to hear, you just sound like you're in a real happy place. You're in a really good place.
Mm.
So I guess it's just keep building on that.
Yeah, I'm quite mindful of not, I've been in that burnout situation before.
Yeah,
So I'm not going down that road again.
yeah.
I'm not going to sacrifice, um, my happiness and my family's for, chasing certain. I was going to say certain levels of money, but then again, if the right opportunities come about that doesn't sacrifice that happiness, I'm happy to earn mega money. It's
Yeah,
I don't think. But look, I think money and profit. It's almost like we shouldn't be talking about it,
yeah.
but why the hell not? I we don't live a lavish lifestyle. And we haven't got huge aspirations too, but there is certain levels of income that I want to get to, so we can enjoy certain things that we're not enjoying, not able to right now.
Hmm.
Ipswich Town season ticket will be one of the first ones. Um, it'll be cheaper when we get relegated as well back to the
Okay.
Championship.
I can't even get a Wrexham season ticket.
No, you can't. It's all jokes aside. Um, but yeah, I mean, so I've gone backwards and forwards the last sort of year or so with my brand and where I'm. But I truly believe the thrive in farming is is going to help a lot of people. It's going to be quite broad in its approach. So um, I would really, I'm focusing on recruitment, but not, it's not just recruitment, Will. I want to help people write awesome CVs. I want to help people with interview techniques. I want to help businesses look more attractive to potential employees. I want to put free resources out there. I want to talk to experts and publish videos on, how to keep staff happier. Do you know what I mean? I think there's a huge area there that isn't that available right
Yeah.
now. I get to see a lot of CVs now, which is great. And I occasionally I'll get one from someone that I know personally. And that CV doesn't reflect them at all. I'm like,
Mm.
oh man, you're doing yourself a real injustice here, you know. And I do think I'm not saying, go and write someone's CV for them, but I think a lot of these people can be helped drastically to just to get the foot in the door.
For sure.
That's what the CV does. And yeah, so like the community aspect as well, I think we're all, me definitely, I haven't found um, many communities that I really want to be part of. I'm sort of in that in between of sort of farming, business, health and well-being, and individually they sort of exist, but not as like a joined up thing. So when I've got the energy, I'm going to put a lot into trying to build that.
Yeah.
Um, and just keep putting that sort of positive sort of value out there, Will. And whether that's with some recipes for some good food, whether that's the 5K a day, like monthly challenge things that I do. We're currently doing a steps one for April. Um, I love doing all that. And it just feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Helping people.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but
So
at
how
some point,
can if anyone's listening, and they want to get in touch with you or they want to find out more, how can they get in touch with you?
so thriving farming on Instagram is my main platform. Ben Martin on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter, Ben Martin on Twitter. But just yeah, thriving farming's the main one on Instagram, and just I'd just say keep an eye on across socials. I I will be pushing that brand a lot harder now, now that I'm confident in it. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, and maybe watch this space on the podcast front as well.
Oh, that's exciting. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right then. Let's go to the five quick questions to
Mm.
finish. These are always hard. I always send them over to guests beforehand, and people they always seem like really simple questions, but it's kind of they're harder than they sound. So, what's the best gig you've ever been to?
So I said to you previously, I'm not a massive like going to stadium gigs or festivals, but I really appreciate live music,
Hmm.
and I'm probably happier sat in a pub with 10 people watching a live band than in a big stadium or whatever. But
Yeah.
having said that, sort of dance music is my thing. Chase and Status is one of my sort of favorite DJ acts, and they were at Newmarket Racecourse a couple of years ago as a Friday evening, and we stood on the racecourse, sort of watching the DJ set, and it was just incredible. The sun was coming down, beautiful sunset, just great vibes. I'd won a few
Sounds
quid on the previous races,
awesome. Always helps.
and yeah, so yeah, that Chase and Status live DJ set at Newmarket was the one for me.
That sounds awesome. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
So I really scratched my head about this one, um, and it's not a direct bit of advice, but it was really about um, how the little things you can do to look after people to make them happy, and um, he probably won't mind me saying this. My farms director Doug, he said to me once, Ben, if someone's got a hobby, you've always got to protect that. And whether that's a hobby you do or one of your staff on the farm, if they've got a hobby, you do whatever you have to do to make sure they carry on doing it. And that
Like
really
that.
resonated with
That's
me.
good.
Um, and the guy he was talking about was someone who had an Ipswich Town season ticket holder. And he said to me, it didn't matter what that guy was doing on a Saturday afternoon, like on the farm, he finished at lunchtime because
Mm.
he was going to go watch Ipswich. So I think that's really important. If you've got a member of staff who they might be the best tractor driver, the best herdsman, whatever, but if they really follow a sports team, if they like live music, whatever it is, you've got to keep encouraging that.
I like that a lot. Okay. What's the best book you've ever read?
Again, scratching my head with this one. I've got a reading list as long as your arm. It's ridiculous. I like buying books, but so there's an autobiography, Fast Eddie, 20 years on the run. I really enjoyed that, and I didn't put it down. I read it on holiday from start to finish without really putting it down. That was really good. There's a Simon Jordan autobiography. I really like listening to Simon from his sort of how he made his money, how he lost his money, and like his links with owning a football club. And then there's sort of two personal development sort of business books that I really like. Key Person of Influence by Dan Priestley, and How to Be Effing Happy by Dan Meredith.
Yeah.
Um, they're two. Well, Dan Priestley actually sent me that book. I just reached out to him on in LinkedIn one day
Wow.
and said, I really enjoyed your podcast. He said, well, if you did, you'll enjoy this book. And he sent it to me, which I
Okay.
thought was pretty cool. But they're two books that you can pick up and you could literally flick to page 50 and read from there.
Mm.
They're really easy to, and I keep going back to both of those. So I would say Key Person of Influence, Dan Priestley, and How to Be Effing Happy by Dan Meredith are the two that have probably influenced me the most recently.
Awesome. I'll make it. I will check those out. If you could meet any historical figure, who would it be and why?
So I couldn't really. I'm not really a massive sort of historian in a sense. Like, I'd love to meet Churchill or Thatcher or anyone, but Sir Bobby Robson and Sir Alex Ferguson are two sort of incredible football managers that I think have probably had the success they've had because they were very good managers. And I'd love, oh my God, to sat there having dinner with those two would be incredible. And Alex Ferguson, I've followed United all through my younger years. I just loved how he kept evolving with that team. He rebuilt three or four teams and carried on being successful. I'd love to have an hour of his time.
Yeah, but you'd have some nice red wine as well. What's lastly, and but not leastly, what is your all-time favorite song?
So I couldn't pick. Well, Ben Howard, Keep Your Head Up, and Riptide, Advanced Joy were two that just seemed to be on repeat when we was driving around New Zealand.
Yeah,
Riptide was our first dance at a wedding, so that's always going to be pretty important. But I would say if anything by Faithless comes on the radio, that gets me
yeah,
going. It
yeah, yeah.
picks me up, and yeah. So I'd probably say Insomnia by Faithless.
What a choice! What a choice! That it's amazing how music can take you back to a certain time in your life, can't it, or a certain period. Yeah. Okay. Ben, that's been brilliant. Thanks so much for your time. Really, really good to talk to you. And I sort of mean it. I don't want to kind of blow smoke at you, but you are one of my favorite Instagram accounts to follow, just because you I don't know, you just seem to be sort of very positive, and I think I kind of agree with a lot of the things you're doing and saying, and it kind of works for me as well. So hopefully we'll get to bump into each other over the summer, maybe another pint sometime. Are you going to Groundswell? I feel like I ask every
Yes.
guest if they're going to
Yeah.
Groundswell at the moment. But yeah, you're going to be there?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, yeah, really looking forward to that. And thanks for having us on, Will. Really enjoyed it. I was really excited about, being asked and to come on here. I don't listen to many
Yeah,
farming podcasts. I'll be brutally honest. But yours is one that I do. And I had a real good flick through the archives the other day.
yeah.
I'm gonna listen back to Adam's episode again, which I look forward to. Um, and yeah, carry it on because I think personally I learn most from hearing from what other people have done,
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
And I think it's a great platform and keep keep doing it. Don't stop again like you did previously. So there's an awful lot of disappointed people, I think. So yeah, keep up a good work.
So it keeps going. Yeah, hopefully we'll have that beer at Groundswell.
Do well.
Cool. All right. Cheers, Ben. And to everyone at home, thanks for listening and hope to see you next time. If you're enjoying these, please leave a review or spread the word. You can watch on YouTube now, which is very exciting if you want to. And yeah, tell your friends. I've been Will Evans. This has been Rock and Roll Farming. Thank you and good night.